Good afternoon and welcome to everyone to today's session, which is BVLOS flight testing at the Snowdonia Aerospace Centre. We're delighted to have Jeremy with us to talk about how BVLOS flight testing is conducted and things to remember, top hints, tips, what to remember along the way, and obviously the challenges involved. It's clearly a crucial area within the drone sector at the moment. We're delighted to have you here for this ARPAS CPD. Please keep cameras muted, cameras off, microphones muted, and we will come to questions at the end. Please pop those into the Q&A section at the bottom. So here we go. Jeremy, I am going to hand over to you.
Thank you, Eleanor, and good afternoon, one and all, and thank you for the opportunity to present to you. So as Alan said, the topic today that we're talking about is BVLOS flight testing at the Snowdonia Aerospace Centre. Let's make sure I can page. So just a little bit about me to start with for those of you who don't know, and I won't spend too long on this, but basically I've been in aerospace 30 odd years, all of it in research, test and innovation. Most of it with Kinetic and its various predecessor organizations. I've done a lot of work on a number of different types and classes of vehicles, but I've spent the last 10 years focusing on beyond visual line of sight drone operations, and very keen to see regular and routine BVLOS ops in UK airspace. So in terms of the topics today, really just touching on three things, quite a high level, but hopefully you will stimulate some discussion. And as Eleanor said, more than happy to take questions at the end or follow up beyond the webinar itself. So to start off with, just to highlight some of the challenges that I see facing the UK drone industry from a BVLOS integration perspective. Then to talk primarily about the Snowdonia Aerospace Centre, the type of drone testing that we do, the facilities that we have available, and how we might be able to help the industry move along and accelerate the development and capabilities in beyond visual line of sight operations. And then just to finish up with a few sort of do's and don'ts on how to get ready for BVLOS flight test. So in terms of the challenges, I mean, really, we could spend the whole session just talking around these, to be quite honest. I've thrown a number up on the screen here, and I've tried to sort of aggregate them a little bit. But really, the way I see it, there are a number of different challenges, and really, there's a very strong, a very dynamic trade-off between several of them that's required in order to achieve any sort of form of beyond visual line of sight commercial success. I first prepared this slide 2 or 3 years ago and updated it since. And I think it's fair to say, I think we could argue that really in terms of sort of performance, in terms of technology of the drone systems themselves, it's coming on in such leaps and bounds, and we're seeing improvements and enhancements sort of year on year, if not month on month, that really we can almost take the performance of the vehicle for granted now. And that really the challenge is balancing the other two legs of this diagram. So, we can formulate a drone-based system that we believe will be viable in the marketplace and do a fantastic job for our targeted customer. But the challenge then is, how do you prove that it's safe? And likewise, you could come up with a system that is eminently safe, has got great performance, but maybe then too expensive to be affordable in the marketplace. And how do you show it off to the customer in its best form when there are so few places to fly in the UK where you can show it to its full extent? We've all seen the market analyses from PwC and the like, saying that the market's going to be worth several £billion by 2030, 2035, and there are going to be thousands of drones flying across the UK. But I think we're all finding it difficult to get traction and to make penetration into that market space because of these range of challenges, and particularly the one around safety and regulation. You're being able to prove that we are safe to move beyond temporary danger areas, permanent danger areas, even transponder mandatory zones, and to have free, regular and routine operations across the wider UK. And this is really where testing comes in. Fundamentally, we're not going to get away from an evidence-based approach to safety. And evidence requires testing, and actually requires significant amounts of testing, because a lot of it is actually based on multiple test points and accumulating hours against particular areas. So what I want to do in the rest of the presentation is just give you an idea of where we might be able to help you as a community. Hopefully these issues resonate with you, and where we might be able to help you as a community accelerate your development programs. So moving on, talking about the Snowdonia Aerospace Centre itself. Nice aerial picture of it for those of you, again, who don't know of us or have not seen us before. We're based out of the old RAF Kinetic Llanbedr site up on the northwest coast of Wales, right on the edge of Cardigan Bay. That's the view looking west out over Cardigan Bay itself. That's the view looking east in over South Snowdonia National Park. And one of the things that makes it a great test location is that there's very low population density. It's about 44 persons per square kilometre across Gwynedd itself. That drops to about 25 persons per square kilometre when you get into the locale of the airfield, and really low air traffic density as well. Obviously, we're relatively close to RAF Valley and the MOD training areas, but we have a very good relationship with them. And typically what we find is that if we're operating at 2,000 feet and below, there really is no conflict whatsoever. And there's a very long and distinguished history of using drones in this area, going back to its MOD days. For many, many years, it was the launch site for Jindovic target drones out over Cardigan Bay to develop tactics and training. But today our focus is around the commercial exploitation of new and novel aerospace systems, particularly drones for good, and providing test capabilities for a wide range of academic and SME organizations. And this is just a snapshot of some of the activities that we have supported over the last 5 or 6 years. So the Aerospace Centre is a lot more than just a big open space. We have redeveloped the airfield itself and updated all of the facilities on site. So we are also our own air navigation service provider. So we provide not full air traffic services, but flight information service from Llanbedr Tower, which is more than sufficient for the test activities that are undertaken with us. We can provide hangarage, office space, and those offices come with conferencing facilities, lecture theatre, ultra-fast broadband. And if you've ever done trials and you've been stuck out in a caravan in the middle of a farmer's field on a cold, wet December day, you'll be very pleased to know that we have heated offices, kitchens, showers and toilets. I laugh, but having been in that situation, that makes an awful lot of difference to the efficiency and effectiveness of your trials team when you can keep them warm. So the key unique selling point really of the Snowdonia Aerospace Centre is Danger Area D217, and we put a lot of time and investment into developing this capability. Building on the previous temporary danger area that we had at the site for a number of years, and And as far as we know, it is currently the only fully commercially controlled permanent airspace danger area in the UK. So that is to say, it is completely managed and run by Snowdonia Aerospace. All of the others are either managed by Ministry of Defence or have some Ministry of Defence input into their running and management. Whereas we're completely standalone, so that you'll have no conflict. You're not battling MOD programs for priority for access. We are open to all comers. As I said, a lot of our clients are from universities and small to medium enterprises, but our doors are open to all comers. And we are the Danger Area Authority, and we provide through our ANSP a Danger Area Activity Information Service to other airspace users. So if we are providing a capability for someone, we require 14 days notice of intent, and that's really so that we can manage the relationship with RAF Valley to the north and MOD Aberporth to the south. But once we've given that notice of intent, effectively we can activate the danger area at 24 to 48 hours notice, depending on the altitude that we're segregating to. 24 hours notice below 2,000 feet is not a problem for us, and we've done that several times already, and as I manage that relationship with RAF Valley on a weekly basis. So once activated, that opens up 420 square kilometers of very interesting operating environments, maritime, coastal, rural, and mountain test environments. And we hope to be able to offer testing to vertiports within the next year or so as well. So to be able to effectively emulate sort of city centre operations off rooftops and the like. Within that 420 square kilometres, we usually find that most of our clients have more than enough airspace to play with. But if you do need to do extended range, endurance, or altitude operations, then we also have a relationship with the MOD team at Aberporth and can provide access into the larger MOD D201 range, where basically we will do a handoff at the boundary, and then ATC at Aberporth will take control beyond then. But that requires a little bit more planning, and you won't be surprised to know that that comes with a little bit more cost. But it's there if people need it. One thing I should point out is the danger area is a major safety mitigation when you're submitting your safety case, your operating safety case to the Civil Aviation Authority, but it's not sufficient in itself. So you will still need to submit an OSC to the CAA to get approval to fly within the danger area. And that obviously we all know can take quite a significant amount of time. If there are short-term activities that don't necessarily require you to provide a safety case or have your own vehicle, we do have our own drone test bed that we've developed, the Dragon, which is a 6-meter wingspan, 55 kilo max takeoff weight platform that's got about 8 kilograms or 30 liters of experimental payload mass and volume that we can make available to third parties, and the vehicle itself has got about a 3-hour endurance. So this little picture gives you an idea of the payload space that's available, and we can also attach a ventral pod as well. And another shortcut, if you like, to getting your capability tested is that we also, through one of our directors, have a relationship with Kemble Flying Club, and they are one of the few entities in the UK that have a commercial license for their microlights, so that we can actually use a microlight as a surrogate drone. So, for example, we can attach small equipment such as camera systems to the wing struts. We can use the microlights to act as surrogate drones within, say, a UTM system. Their flight dynamics, speed, and what have you, are very similar to the larger class of drones that you might expect to see in UK airspace. And we're starting to use those more widely, and they're proving very effective in that regard. So in terms of prepping for a BVLOS flight test campaign, it's quite a step up from flying visual line of sight. There are a number of challenges, as I say, not least getting the operating approval from the Civil Aviation Authority. But that aside, there are some other do's and don'ts that at a very top level I just sort of touch on based on experience. I think in terms of don'ts, the first thing I would say is don't leave the testing to last. I mean, this is something I've seen on a number of projects over the years. If we think in terms of the sort of the systems engineering V diagram for product development, testing is half of the process, and it's not unreasonable to expect that it will take at least half of the time and half of the budget. It's also a learning experience. So again, leaving it right to the end of your project doesn't really give you as much opportunity to learn as you might anticipate. And I think one of Norman Augustine's pithy little quotes from his time at the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works is appropriate here. His recommendation was build a little, test a little. And we would certainly recommend that. And I think that sort of leads into my next point, which is, don't attempt to do too much in one go. VLOS to BVLOS is a big step up. If you're coming for a test campaign, and it doesn't matter whether it's with us or at another test centre, you need to allow for unexpected tech issues. You need to allow for poor weather. And another, I think, valuable lesson is to separate out test development from customer demonstration. There's nothing worse than thinking that you've got to have this working for the customer to see at the end of the week, and then to have people peering over your engineer's shoulder when you know that it's not quite 100%. So again, it comes back to build a little, test a little, plan in several test sessions, have an objective for each one, and build up in stages. And we touched on the sort of the human factors issue of the test team earlier. Fatigue is a safety issue. So again, making sure that the team remains warm, dry, fed is a key part of a successful test campaign. So in terms of the do's then, so do allow sufficient time and budget for your project plan, in your project plan for testing. I was saying to Eleanor yesterday, and only sort of half joking, we occasionally get people come to us at this time of year say, we're at the end of our 2-year program, it completes end of March, we've got about 5% of the budget left. What can we do in terms of testing? And really, without being flippant, we would always try and accommodate everyone, but really they're approaching us 23 months too late. You need to plan testing in and for it to be central to the program plan right from the very beginning of the project. Do have a structured test plan. I mean, it sounds obvious, and I'm probably teaching you all to suck eggs here, but it bears reinforcement every time. A structured test plan, the CAA will expect to see this as part of the safety case anyway. So make sure that what you're planning relates back to your system requirements so that you're doing verification against the system spec. So proving that the system actually does what you've designed it to do. And then validation against user requirements, that the system you've designed actually meets the user requirements and is actually useful to them and does the job that they want it to do. And so we can support both system testing and operational use case testing within the environment that we can make available to you. I've talked a little bit about the CAA and regulation being a blocker. I don't mean to be too negative on them, because I have to satisfy them ourselves as part of our application process. But one thing that they do that's really useful, and they probably don't advertise it enough, is that they will offer a free 1-hour consultation prior to you starting your safety case development. And I'd urge everyone to take up that opportunity, because that will save a lot of pain and grief further down the line, and will help you to shape and define your test program so that you get to that endpoint far quicker and far cheaper than might otherwise be the case. And the other thing I would say is, please talk early to us as well. I joked about people coming to us 23 months too late, but really, our doors are open. We'd be very happy to assist you with scheduling and budgeting of your test campaign before you put your program together, before you apply for funding. We have, not just myself, but a small team of experts. We've probably got between us over 100 years of research and flight test experience. So we can certainly assist you with test plan development. We can assist you, if you like, with safety case development. And I think as well, you don't necessarily view us as a subcontractor. If you're bidding for research funding and you want a partner, someone who's going to contribute alongside you, we'd be more than happy to consider that as well. And we've done so on a number of projects, one of which being the Vertiport project that I alluded to earlier. So that's, a very quick canter through some of the key issues around testing, and where I see the BVLOS challenges being, where Snowdonia Aerospace might be able to help you. And hopefully that's given you a flavour. I doubt it's given you all of the answers, but hopefully it's given you a flavour of how we might be able to assist you and assist the BVLOS community in the UK. And hopefully that's then a stimulus to Q&A here, but follow-on discussion as well. And my contact details are on the last slide, and I'd be very happy to follow up with anyone after this event. So again, Eleanor, thank you for the opportunity, and open now for questions.
Indeed. Thank you, Jeremy. That was fascinating and very good insight into some of the challenges and how you at Snowdonia Aerospace Centre can help. So if anyone has any questions, please do pop them into the question and answer section, and we can go on. So we have one here, which is from Anna. Thank you for your presentation, very interesting. Would you be able to say a little more about any challenges of the particular site, e.g. around weather, views of locals on drone activity, etc.?
Yes, very happy to. A lot of people have the view of Wales that it's very wet and windy, and yes, we get our fair share of weather, but I would point to the fact that RAF Valley is just up the road, and they're there for a very good reason, because they get a large number of flying hours in the year, and we find exactly the same. When the weather systems blow through, and they tend to come in from the southwest, straight up through Cardigan Bay, but they tend to blow through quite quickly. And when you're testing, you're very rarely airborne for 8 hours of the day. It's normally half hour here, an hour there. And more often than not, you will find a slot within a working day when you can get at least one, if not two, sorties in. Particularly so during the summer months. So we tend to find that anything within British summertime is a good good operating period. We tend to find that the average winds are a lot lower during that period. Average winds are typically around 10 miles an hour. Obviously, they will gust and rise. We'll get storms through in that period, but for the period, it's about 10 miles an hour. And then for the winter months, it tends to be 15 to 20 miles an hour. But we get an awful lot of good flying time during the summer period.